Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our midweek service, and we continue to thank God for His goodness and His mercies upon our lives, for His protection even this far. We never imagined when the corona pandemic was announced. Nobody imagined we would come this far, but God's grace and mercies have been sufficient. My name is Kibe from the Anglican Church of Kenya, St. Christopher's Parish, Mathare North. And with the blessings of the Vicar, I continue to give these psychology talks to build us up, even as we build our inner man, as we build our souls. We have realized that our souls are part of our physical lives, and physical bodies are also part of our souls, and so we take care of all of them. We have been on this series on parenting, and I remember last week telling you that today I want us to look at slightly different but also connected with parenting, because I wanted us to look at the psychology of the effective parent. And I know I had talked about just doing it in one session, but I was prepared. As I was preparing it, I realized that for me to do something meaningful, something effective, one lesson will not be enough. So kindly allow me to just walk with you for about 3 or so lessons, because I have broken it down so that we can be able to benefit maximum from the topic. So karibuni, and when I was looking at the things that the parenting skills and parenting strategies that we have been looking at, I realized that all of them revolve around probably what we need to do, some behavior, something external that we need to do to be able to help our children, to parent them in a way that brings out successful adults at the end of it all. But then I also asked myself, the vessel that is supposed to do the actions that we have been talking about, is that vessel effective? Okay, is that vessel, does it have the capacity? Yeah, is it wired? Is it well prepared? Is it even in a state to be able to perform the activities that we have been talking about? And I remembered in the Bible Jesus talking about how it is not wise to put new wine in old wineskins, yeah, because an old wineskin may not be able to handle the new wine, yeah. It may just give way, or it may burst when the new wine is put in it. And therefore I am looking at the parent as the wine skin, and I'm asking myself, how is this wine skin? Is it old? Does it need to be rejuvenated? Does it need to be enhanced so that it will be able to perform the tasks that we have been talking about? And that is why I came up with this particular topic, just looking at the psychology, this effective parent who is supposed to execute the strategies and the techniques and the skills that we have been talking about. How is this parent supposed to be? Yeah, and I want to start by saying that what we think and feel affects how we raise our children. Okay, how we think and how we feel, and really how we think includes how we think about ourselves and how we think about our children. It will have an effect. Yeah, it will affect how we raise those particular children, including how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about our children. And therefore, in this topic, I will just be looking at, for one to be an effective parent, which are the areas that we need to be careful about, that will affect how we think and that will affect how we feel. And therefore I want to look at, I will be looking at several areas, again not exhaustive in any way, but the key ones, yeah, that become very critical in the whole aspect of the feeling and the thoughts that will make you an effective parent. And I want to begin by looking at ourselves, yeah, the parent themselves, and how they feel about their self-concept, yeah, self-concept. How do you feel about yourself in totality? Okay, and I want to begin by saying that just being aware of how you feel about your own self-concept, yeah, the person you call you, the I, yeah, the I, are you aware? Yeah, and that's what I want to ask this morning, and just to talk about it. And I have titled it as self-awareness and the ability to separate your own issues from the child's issues. Okay, because once you have awareness, yeah, of yourself, in fact, I would like to start by asking you to reflect on yourself. Like, if someone were to ask you right now, yeah, to talk about yourself, to say who you are, what would you say? And this goes over and above your name. Yeah, it goes beyond your name. It goes beyond your gender. Yeah, it goes beyond just knowing that I am male or I am female. But it goes right to the core. Yeah, do you know what your thoughts are? Do you know what your strengths are? Okay, and therefore allow me to take you through 3 or 4 aspects of self-awareness that will be very critical for you, so that you are able to separate your own issues from the issues of the child. Yeah, because if you do not have self-awareness, you will find yourself projecting, yeah, projecting onto the child, so that the way you interact with your child becomes hazy, yeah, and that prevents you from bringing up that child, from parenting the child for who the child is. And therefore, I want to begin by saying that it is important for you to be aware about your strengths, yeah, as a parent, as a person, yeah, your strengths. Do you know which areas you are strong at? Yeah, do you know those areas that separate you from everybody else? Things that you do, and you do them so well because you have a strength in that particular area. And I would like you to just reflect, yeah, reflect. Are you a good business person, for example? Are you very good at noticing things? Yeah, are you very good at doing a certain activity? Yeah, those God-given strengths that you have. And once you get to know these particular strengths, I would want to encourage you, yeah, for you to become an effective parent. I would like to encourage you to celebrate your strengths. Yeah, once you become aware of those strengths, begin to celebrate them and begin to use them to your advantage, even as a parent. Okay, begin to use them to your advantage, so that if you have a strength, for example, in noticing people's emotions, yeah, use it as your strength. Begin to notice the emotions of your children, and begin to encourage your child, yeah, in the area of emotions, so that you do not use them against your child. When you, the very same example I have given of having a strength of picking people's emotions. Sometimes if you are not careful, yeah, you may overuse it on your children, so that probably when you realize that your child is not happy about something, or your child is struggling with anger, for example, then you may use it against the child, yeah, so that you are constantly asking your child, now what has made you angry? Sasa nini inakukasirisha? Unakasirika ovyo ovyo, because you have been able to pick. So if you are not very careful, you can use your strengths against your children. Okay, so begin to celebrate your strengths and begin to use them to the advantage of your advantage in your parenting. Yeah, and do not expect your child to have similar strengths like you. Okay, when we talk of strengths, we are talking of things you do automatically. You do not put a lot of effort in doing them. You could be very good in performing a certain task, yeah, because that is the area of strength that God has given you. Do not expect your child to have similar strengths like you. Okay, when you find them struggling in the area that you have a strength in, yeah, begin to appreciate that they are different from you, yeah, and not putting so much pressure on the child to have the similar strength like you, so that you now become too overbearing on the child, and you begin to expect, so to expect more than what your child can be able to do. Okay, so once you know your strength, you are able to celebrate it, you use it to your advantage in parenting, and do not expect your child to have similar strengths. Okay, so that you do not expect beyond, yeah, what your child can be able to achieve. The other area that you need to have self-awareness is the area of weaknesses. There is nobody who is perfect in this world. We all have our weaknesses. We have those areas that we struggle, we strain as we are engaging in particular areas in our lives. And again, just being able to know that I am not very good in this area. In this area, I have a weakness. Some of us parents may be having a weakness in our emotions, for example, yeah, that we get annoyed easily, yeah, that when we get annoyed, we go beyond. We use our anger and become very, very intense in the way we express our anger. That is just an example. There are many other weaknesses that we may have. Some of you may have a weakness in the area of patience. You may have a weakness in the area of probably even when you cook, your food doesn't come out very well, yeah, because you do not have a strength in that area. You have a weakness in that particular area, and so on and so forth. Some of us, it is in the area of handling money. Some of us, it is in the area of relationships. Some of us, is weaknesses in the area of communication, and so on and so forth. We all have weaknesses. So I would urge you to interact with yourself. And when I say interacting with yourself, in fact, the whole concept of self-awareness is just interacting with yourself, calling yourself for a meeting, and being spontaneous and genuine as you look at yourself. Yeah. So look at yourself in the area of weaknesses. Which weaknesses do you have? Accept them, yeah, and begin to work on them realistically. And when I say realistically, I mean do not overstretch yourself, and do not put on yourself very high expectations, so that when you do not meet them, you begin now to get angry. And once you are angry, most of the time you become grumpy, and this translates into how you treat your children. So accept your weaknesses and work on them realistically. Yeah, those that are beyond what you can do, accept the far that you can be able to go. And then do not be so harsh on your child when they they show similar weaknesses. Because I know in the area of psychology, the little time that I have been there, I know that we tend to project onto our children. So that if you know you have a weakness in a certain area, and you see your child exhibiting the same weakness, you become very harsh. Some parents will even beat their children. They are beating the weakness out of their child, yeah? Because definitely nobody is very happy with their own weaknesses. And therefore, when you see it being transmitted to your child, you become so angry, and you are beating your own weakness out of your child, okay? So that the harshness that you have towards yourself, you express it towards the child. No. I would like to urge you, do not hate your child because they have acquired the weaknesses that you have, okay? Do not hate your child. Do not be so harsh on them when they exhibit similar weaknesses. Instead, I would urge you to help your child to work on their weaknesses just as you are working on yours. Okay? Yeah. And separate them. Separate your weaknesses and the fact that you are struggling to work on your own weaknesses. Separate them from the life of your child, yeah, so that you accept your child for who they are, and you begin to help them to work on your weaknesses in a realistic manner, without beating them in the quest of beating out your own weakness from your child. Okay, yeah. The third area is the whole area of potentials. Okay, we all have unique potentials that God has given us. And potentials are those inner strengths that you have. There are areas that if you grow them within you, they can become your strength, yeah, or they can become areas that will help you to actualize in your life. Okay, we actually call them potentials. So get in touch with your potentials. Again, as I've told you, call yourself to a meeting, okay, and begin to ask yourself, what are those potentials that God has given me? And become open, because some of the potentials we become aware of them as we go on with the business of living. So become open as you interact, as you move on with your life, so that you go acknowledging the potentials that you have. So celebrate them, yeah, and strive to actualize them. As in, put in the resources that you need to put in order to actualize the potentials that God has put in you. Now, where is the area of potentials coming in with parenting? Do not insist that your child must have similar potentials like you. Okay? And sometimes the way we show as parents that we are expecting our children to have similar potentials is when we begin to imagine that their education performance will be like ours, and especially those who God has endowed, and you have you performed very well in your education. So sometimes we expect the same education performance to be exhibited by our children. We want them to be good in the same subjects that we were good at, yeah, irrespective of that is a potential you have, and your child may be having different potentials. You could have been very good in art subjects. Your child could be very good in science subjects. Can you stop imposing, yeah, your own potentials on your children, yeah? Because sometimes as parents, we impose them on our children, and we begin to insist that children choose the same subjects that we chose. Sometimes we want them to choose the same careers like we chose, yeah? Sometimes we even want them to excel like the way we excelled, okay? So kindly be aware of your own potentials and separate your potentials from the potentials of the child, yeah? In fact, we want to ask you that you do what? You invest in learning your child's potentials, yeah? Invest in learning them, and you will learn them together with your child, yeah? So invest in learning the potentials of your child and separate your own potentials from those of your child, yeah? And celebrate your child's potentials and begin to help them to actualize the potentials that they have, even when they are different from those ones of yours. Okay? Then the other area, and this one is very, very, very critical, the area of needs. Yeah, needs, mahitaji. Everybody has their own needs. We all have physical needs. We all have emotional needs. We all have need for achievement, yeah, and need for achievement probably because of lack of resources, or something happened in your life, you are not able to meet your need for achievement. Okay, so probably you would have wanted to become a doctor yourself. You would have wanted to become a pilot. You would have wanted to become a teacher. Yeah, you would have wanted to become a big businessman or something, or businesswoman, but because of the challenges that you went through in your own life, you are not able to achieve those needs. Kindly parents, those are your needs. Do not project them onto your child. Okay? Because sometimes we project our own needs onto our children. Okay? Maybe I may have wanted to make very many friends. I would have wanted to be very social. Yeah, and because for one reason or another I did not achieve that, maybe I did not acquire good social skills, then I begin to imagine that my child should have many friends, and I begin to choose for them friends, and I begin to make friends, a certain clique of friends. Do you know you are meeting your own needs through the needs of your children? Okay, maybe you would have wanted to like in the careers that I'm talking about, and then you begin to insist that your child takes on that particular career. Parents, do not meet your needs through your child. Okay, allow the child to be and begin to meet their needs, their real needs, and not your own needs through the child. Okay, you need to have awareness on how you identify and deal with your own emotions. Yeah, how do you identify, for example, that you have anger? Yeah, that you are now angry. How do you identify that you are now excited or you are happy? How do you identify that you are having betrayal? And how do you deal with it? Because sometimes we project, our emotions onto our children. Allow me to single out when there are conflicts between spouses. Maybe you are not agreeing, on the way your spouse is doing things. Kindly do not project your emotions onto your child, so that you are now beginning to force your child to hate your spouse because you do not like your spouse. Or you are beginning to, because you are feeling betrayed by your spouse, you are pulling your child into your own betrayal. And you are helping your child to you are ganging with your child against your spouse. Those are your own needs that you are meeting. They are your own emotions that you are projecting onto your child. And guess what? You will not be able to parent your child effectively. Yeah? So we are saying that have awareness in these areas and be able to deal with your own issues and separate them from the child. Okay? Work on your own self-concept. Work on your own self-esteem. And when you have self-awareness, it helps you. Remember, I don't know if you have noticed, I am saying celebrate, accept, in all these areas that I am talking about. Because that will help you to be okay with yourself, with your own weaknesses, with your own strengths, with your own potentials. Once you are okay with them, what will happen is that you will gain what we call self-acceptance. And once you have a firm sense of self, who you are, and you will be at peace with yourself. And when you are at peace with yourself, you become a good vessel. You become the wineskin that I'm talking about, that will be able to accommodate the new wine, that will be able to accommodate the parenting skills and strategies that I was talking about. And then you'll be able to be at peace with your children. You will accept them for who they are, and you will parent them in a better way, and you will now work towards making them grow and thrive and become the successful adults that we were talking about. Okay, if you remember some of the topics we looked at, like how to provide emotional care, it will be difficult for you to provide emotional care if you are not at peace with yourself. So be at peace with yourself first. Learn who you are in these various areas that I have talked about, and be at peace with it, so that you do not project them onto your children. So may God help us, may God help us to accept our children for who they are, so that we can have goodwill towards our children even as we parent them. And then we will be successful in our parenting. Shall we bow down our heads and pray? Almighty Father, we thank you for creating us the way that you created us. Thank you for making us who we are. Thank you for giving us strengths and potentials, O Lord. And we ask that even as we continue to reflect, that your Holy Spirit will help us to to open our eyes and to see the numerous strengths and potentials that you have given us. And when we see them, may we celebrate them, may we accept them, and may we own them up, and so that we do not project them onto our children, oh Lord, so that we may not begin to have high expectations on our children to be like us, even when they do not have capacity to do so. Help us also as we reflect on our weaknesses, as we reflect on our blind spots, oh Lord. Help us to be able to see which are the areas we are weak at, and to be able to accept them, and to be able to start working on them, and to work on them in a realistic way, so that we stop projecting them onto our children. So that when we put together the skills that we learned, that we will be able to put them into practice even as we parent our children, so that eventually we will have children that we will have adults that are able to be independent, that are able also to have responsibility and to be good citizens in this country and even in the nations of the world. We thank you, we honor you, and we glorify you. It is in Jesus' name that we have prayed and we have believed. Amen and amen. Thank you for staying with me. Next week we continue, as I have told you, 3 or so sessions, just looking at the psychology of the effective parent. God bless you and see you then. Amen.